Had better and should. Had better. Form and meaning. We use have better to refer to the present or the future, to talk about actions we think people should do or which are desirable in a specific situation. The verb form is always had, not have. We normally shorten it to apostrophe d, better, in informal situation. It is followed by the infinitive without to. It's 5 o'clock. I'd better go now before the traffic gets too bad. Not, I'd better to go now. The democratic movement had better concentrate on the immediate issues of the economy and security. More formal. Had better is a strong expression. Not. We use it if we think there will be negative results if someone doesn't do what it desired or suggested. She had better get her soon, or she will miss the opening ceremony. Spoken English. Sometimes people say had best instead of had better, especially in informal speaking. This sounds slightly less strong and less direct. You'd best leave it till Monday. There is no one in the office today. Had better, negative and question forms. The negative of had better is had better not, or apostrophe d, better not. I'd better not leave my bag here. Someone might steal it. You'd better not tell Elizabeth about the broken glass. She will go crazy. The question form of had better is made by inverting the subject and had. This means the same as should, but is more formal. Had I better speak to John first before I send this form off? What do you think? Had we better leave a note for the delivery guy to take the parcel next door? Negative questions with had better are more common than positive ones. Hadn't we better ring the school and tell them John is sick? Hadn't you better switch your computer off? It might overheat if you leave it on. Had better or be better, be best. We use had better to give advice in a specific situation. We use the phrase be better or be best plus to plus infinitive for more general suggestion. It's always better to be safe than sorry. It's better to be safe than sorry is a saying which means that you should be careful before taking an action. I think it would be best to speak to the people in the video shop to see what they recommend. Had better or would rather, would prefer. We don't use had better when we talk about preferences. We use would rather or would prefer. Compare. I'd better get a taxi. The buses are so slow. It's a good idea, better or advisable to get a taxi. I would rather get a taxi. I don't like buses. I prefer to get a taxi. Had better. Typical errors. We use had better to give a specific advice, not to talk about obligation or requirements. Instead, we use have to, have got to, or must. You have to, or must, hold a full, valid driving license to hire a car. Not. you had better hold a full, valid driving license to hire a car. They offered her a job in Warsaw, but she said she had rather work in a smaller city, or she had preferred to work. Not she had better work. We don't use had better to make ordinary suggestion or recommendation. Auckland is a great place to visit. I'd recommend you to take a boat trip across the bay and see some of the islands. There you can find a nice restaurant for lunch. There are plenty of them. Not you had better take a boat trip across the bay and see some of the islands. Then you'd better find a nice restaurant for lunch. We use had better plus the infinitive without to give advice. Although had is a past form of have, we use had better to give advice about the present or future. You had better tell her everything. I'd better get back to work. We had better meet early. The negative form is had better not. You had better not say anything. I had better not come. We had better not miss the start of his presentation. We use had better to give advice about specific situation, not general ones. If you want to talk about general situation, you must use should. You should brush your teeth before you go to bed. I shouldn't listen to negative people. He should dress more appropriately for the office. When we give advice about specific situation, it's also possible to use should. You shouldn't say anything. I should get back to work. We should meet early. However, when we use had better, there is a suggestion that if the advice is not followed, that something bad will happen. You'd better do what I say, or else you will get into trouble. I'll better get back to work, or my boss will be angry with me. You'd better get to the airport by 5, or else we may miss the flight. Should is a modal verb that has more than one meaning. The obvious meaning is that we use to give advice. For example, you should quit smoking. But it could also mean that you expect something to happen in the future. For example, John called and told me he is on his way. He should be here soon. The past tense of should is should have plus past participle. Had better is similar, but it's used for more urgent advice with bad consequences if you don't follow it. For example, you had better quit smoking or you will die. Examples: you had better take your umbrella with you today. Recommendation: that bus had better get here soon. Desperate hope: you had better watch the way you talk to me in the future. Warning: using had better in present, past and future. Had better, recommendation, positive forms. Shift to should or ought to. People should unplug toasters before they clean them. 2. Shift to should, have or ought to have. You should have unplugged the toaster before you try to clean it. 3. You had better unplug the toaster before you try to clean it. Negative forms. 1. Shift to should or ought to. People shouldn't clean toasters without unplugging them first. 2. Shift to should, have or ought to have. You shouldn't have cleaned the toaster without unplugging it first. 3. You had better not clean the toaster until you unplug it. Had better. Desperate hope. Warning. Positive sentence. The movie had better end soon. They had better be here before we start dinner. Desperate hopes and warning usually refer to the near future. Negative forms. They had better not forget Tom's birthday gift. Desperate hopes and warning usually refer to the nearer future. Had better is often simply pronounced as better in spoken English. Now let's get down to practice. It looks as it might rain. We'd better take an umbrella. It's a popular restaurant. We'd better reserve a table. You look ill. You'd better not to go to work. If you don't pay your phone bill soon, you will be in trouble. You'd better pay the phone bill soon. Tom is expecting you to phone him. You had better phone him soon. This is your last chance. You had better study hard. It's late. You had better go. The film starts at 7 o'clock. You had better go now or you will be late. I have an appointment in 10 minutes. I'd better go now or I will be late. I need some money. I'd better go to the bank. It's hot here. You'd better leave the window open. You have missed the bus. You had better get a taxi if you don't want to be late. We had better stop for the petrol soon. The tank is almost empty. She will be upset if we don't invite her to the wedding. So we had better invite her. Let's have some trial tests now. Do you think Carol save her money or spend it? She is planning to go to Europe this summer. You have to choose right answer. A. Shouldn't. B. Has to. C. Had better. D. Hadn't better. E. Should.